What is going on, everybody? What is going on, the catch fam? Hope everyone is doing phenomenal tonight, man. Hope everyone had a great weekend. You guys already know what time it is, baby. It's another live 2022 fantasy football mock draft with you guys with the catch family. Tonight we are hopping into a 14-team full PPR mock draft. We're gonna have some good time. We're gonna talk some fantasy football. Y'all know what to do, man. Hit that like button on the way in. Hit that subscribe button if you are new to the channel, and hop in the live chat. Let me know what's popping, everybody. Excited as ever to be here with you guys. Thank you guys so much for working with me. I know I'm a little bit late tonight. Had a little bit of a rough night with the baby, but nonetheless, happy to be here. We have got some news to go over. We got some things to talk about. It's going to be a good stream, so I'm excited for it, man. I'm going to get a poll set up here in the chat, and I'm going to go ahead and set our draft order. Let's see here. There you guys go. That way you know where we're drafting from. Ooh, 1.2 tonight for me. All right. So we'll give this a couple minutes here. We'll try and let everyone have an opportunity to hop in here, and we'll go from there. All right. Let's see here very quickly. Is Debo a first round fantasy selection? That is my question. That will lead us into the news for the night. Obviously, you guys know by now, right? Debo Samuel getting a 3-year extension with the San Francisco 49ers, worth up to $73.5 million. $58.1 million guaranteed. So the Debo drama is over. We know where Debo will be going into the season. He will be a San Francisco 49er. So Debo, before all the drama was going at the end of the first round, if you take away Debo's rushing statistics from last season, everything on the ground, if you take it away, he is wide receiver 10 in full PPR. A lot to think about, right? I think his ADP is going to slowly move. I don't know why I said that. Slowly move up and up to at least the beginning of the second round. It's going to be interesting to see where he goes tonight. So we'll get into some discussion throughout the night. I'm going to see who's in the building. But there we go. I mean, we got DK Metcalf re-signed. We got Scary Terry re-signed. We got Debo re-signed. We got A.J. Brown traded, but with a nice little contract, right? So it's been an interesting offseason for those wide receivers, right? All right, so let's see here. Wow, I already can't go to the top of the chat, so I'm sorry if I missed a couple of you guys. But J-Dub's in the house. Real Goated, what's up, guys? What's up? Inceptivus, hello. Albert in the house, hello. Let's see here. Jason got the turn tonight. What's up, Kenobi? Mr. Sarcastic says, no, Debo is not a first-round selection. Septifus says second rounder. So, yes, Albert, good point here. Another news, right? We apparently have the Deshaun Watson hearing coming tomorrow morning. Albert's saying 8 a.m. I've heard 9 a.m. Who knows? I guess it depends where you live, but yeah, I've heard different things, here and there. But supposedly, we're getting the decision on Deshaun Watson in the morning. So some other news, right? I've heard that Watson's team is refusing any more than 6 to 8 games, and the league wanted a full season. Could they find a middle ground? And obviously a hefty fine as well. We'll see. I mean, I don't know. Apparently the NFL has come out and said whatever the hearing is what they're going to go by. So I don't know. We'll see. Andrea in the house, hello. All right, guys, we'll try and give this till 11:50 to give everyone an opportunity to hop in here. And if you're not here by 11:50, then you're going to get some auto picks, and we'll go from there. It's a little bit of a late night stream, a little bit later than we usually go on Sunday. So we will try and get this thing rolling. Everyone be prepared for 11:50. We got 30-second selections tonight. So things should move relatively quickly. All right, Hip Hop Thrifter, what's going on? What's up? I have 12 pick of a 14 team. Can I get Kelsey? It's definitely possible, yeah. I do think that Kelsey's ADP is going to probably move up as the offseason progresses. I mean, last offseason, out of nowhere, Kelsey became like a top 5, top 6 selection. But going off of the mock drafts that we've been conducting, it's definitely possible to get Kelsey at 1.12. Absolutely. But we'll see as the offseason continues to progress. Emil says Debo's not a first rounder, second, maybe. J-Dub says second rounder. He's got to see some touchdown regression. That's fair. At least 8 games. Otherwise, there will be blowbacks, says J-Dubs. Watson will be placed on the commissioner's exempt list. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. I feel like it's anyone's guess at this point, right? So we'll wake up. We'll have some news. It's an eventful 24 hours for the National Football League. So, yeah, we'll see where Debo goes tonight. I think beginning of the second is probably where, he had really fallen back to the end of the second. And some mock drafts, that would land him at the beginning of the third just based off of other, specific fantasy managers' convictions and players they wanted over Debo, but, at the end of the second. So he's been in that territory. I think mid-second to the beginning of the second is where we're going to start to see him. You might get some opinions that kind of start to push him into the end of the first. Obviously, 10-team versus 12-team versus 14 teams. There's going to be some variation there, right? And a 14-team, you might have a higher likelihood of seeing him go in the first, but 10 and 12-man leagues, I think definitely in the second. So, all right, regardless, let's go ahead and let's get another 2022 Fantasy Football Mock Draft kicked off here at the channel. Draft is live. Charlie wastes no time. He goes with JT at 1.1. Let's go CMC tonight. Let's just go CMC. I don't think Robert's in here, but we'll give this about 20 seconds here, and then I'll hit the auto selection. So, looking at the poll, 14 votes, 100%. No, Debo is not a first-round selection. So there you go. All right, we'll give Robert the auto selection here. It's Eckler at 1.3. We got Chase Brown on the clock. Looks like we got all green dots tonight except for our boy Robert. So let's go. Appreciate you guys once again for getting this put together and for, hanging out late night and allowing me to be late to the stream. So appreciate you guys, man. All right, Derrick Henry gone at 1.4. We've got our first receiver gone to Anthony at 1.5. What's up, Anthony? How you doing, man? Chase, what's up? Charlie, what's up? Real Goated, J-Dubs, Mr. Sarcastic, Julian, Albert, Inceptivus, Sleeper, Andrea, Jason. How's everyone doing tonight, man? Appreciate you guys drafting with me. All right, Rio goes with Joe Mixon at 1.6. Cup is gone at 1.7. Dalvin Cook gone at 1.8. Julian on the clock here at 1.9. So I do feel like in a 14-team draft, the best place to be is either at the beginning or the end of the first round. And just being able to secure, those selections at either turn is definitely valuable. And I think you could argue end of the first probably more valuable because you end up with a high-value player in the second round, right? All right, Jamar Chase gone at 1.9. Chase Brown says, what's up? What's good, bro? George Pickens also making noise in camp. What round do you see him going, John? I mean, I've liked Pickens all off season. That's been one of my guys, right? I mean, the Steelers just traditionally not only develop young wide receivers very well, but they also use them like often and early, right? So, and yeah, I mean, I've seen some clips of Pickens in camp making some crazy catches and drills and everything, and I've liked Pickens all off season, especially with Claypool having some injury concerns. So, what round do I see him going? I mean, essentially, he's been in 12-team formats. He's really not going until if he does get drafted, he doesn't always get drafted, but usually the 13th, 14th, maybe the 12th round if someone really has conviction. But I have snagged him up in quite a few drafts and quite a few underdog drafts as well. So there is a possibility that as the offseason progresses that he moves up a little bit in ADP. And that's kind of an interesting thing, right? With training camp, it really can shift a lot of fantasy ADPs. And some of the things we base it off don't really mean anything, Preseason games may be a little bit more valuable, but training camp is valuable. It's interesting to see how things shift in the month of August all over the place. You know what I'm saying? All right. First round in the books, we got Najee Harris gone, Kelsey, Diggs, Swift, and Adams. Jason Kenobi will take us into the second round with Leonard Fournette. Andrew, doing good. I love to hear it. J-Dubs, this is a PPR draft. Yes, sir. And then he says, what's up, Catch fam? Mixon went a little early for me. J-Dub says Mixon over Harris and Cook. Can't say I dislike it if that's your guy. Yeah, I mean, I would say at the end of the day, right? I mean, you guys know I'm a big fan of Joe Mixon. I don't have an issue with them as RB5 off the board whatsoever. But really, at the end of the day, right, in that first round, like, you should go out. If you're going for a running back in the first round, just go out and secure your RB1, right? Like, that's what you're looking for the season. And if you believe it's Najee Harris, if you believe it's DeAndre Swift, Joe Mixon, Derrick Henry, whoever it is, just go out and draft them and get it over with. And, you know, it's at the end of the day, right? You're getting your RB1. So, I like Mixon there. I know Anthony has voiced some concerns, like some more in the second round, but I just don't think realistically you're going to see Mixon in the second round in a 10-plus team draft, right? So I do like Mixon personally. I don't mind him there whatsoever with the revamped offensive line, a very explosive offense overall, and I get it, right? I mean, you got Pirine there, and they drafted a running back as well. I don't know, man. I'm just not worried about. I'm not worried about Mixon overall. Yeah, Chris Evans is who I'm thinking of. Didn't draft him. He played last season as well, right? But yeah, I'm good with Mixon. That's my dude. But I get it, man. And even if I have a different opinion on a player, right? It's, I love hearing your guys' thoughts and opinions as well. And every now and then, it does shift my opinions as well. So I'm all for it, especially hey, tomorrow's August. Like, we're in prime fantasy season. So as we start to go through the month of August, we've been mock drafting aggressively for some time now, but as we continue to mock draft aggressively and move into the fantasy season, right, when we start to do fantasy Q&A nights, my biggest thing is always just having a space for you guys to express your fantasy opinions and have those different fantasy conversations, right? And really, like, my guess at the end of the day is as good as your guys' guess. So just having that space for you guys to come in and state your opinions, right? There's a difference between, I don't know, just completely arguing and disagreeing and being, like, hateful in the chat and just being like, nah, this is my opinion, right? So I'm all for that, right? And as we move into the regular season, we're going to have a lot of that going on, no doubt. All right, Robert still missing. Debo does go at 10.2 tonight. So at the end of the day, really, it's not really a massive ADP change for Debo. All right, I'm going to go. Oh, man, this is tough. I'm going to go with Kamara. Call me crazy. I'll go Kamara here. Man, I think I did a 6-team. No, I think I did a 10-team draft last night where I started with CMC and Kamara. I can't remember. I've done so many drafts. Man, I was kind of hoping Keenan Allen would fall out here. It's a good selection right there. Who do I want at receiver? Or do I just want to stick with running back? Let's go heavy running back. Let's go with a heavy RB strat tonight. Let's go Javonte Williams. And we are into the third round, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Rio says you got to think about, y'all saw what Mixon did last year. Think about that even with a better offensive line that's going to be dangerous. 100%. I agree, right? And I don't think it's too far-fetched whatsoever to put him in the top 5 when he was RB4 in PPR scoring formats last season, RB3 in standard scoring formats. There's Mixon's face all over the screen for you guys. And, a better offensive line. An incredible offensive firepower team. I mean, I've been all on Mixon all off season long. You guys know that. So, all right, Robert gets the auto pick with Zeke there. Chase picks up T. Higgins here. Mr. Sarcastic says, I would have taken Mixon if he was available over Cook and Harris. Yeah, I mean, I think I've had Mixon that high, if not higher, all off season long. So we can go back and find some early vids. I mean, Mixon's been my guy for a minute, so I don't mind that take whatsoever. J-Dub says offensive line play is much better. I guess one argument to play devil's advocate, right, is that sometimes teams go out for the offensive line, for example, or for, certain areas of defense, and they sign a lot of players, get some young guys, get some veterans, make some nice free agent signings, do some things throughout the draft, right? And then at the end of the day, it just doesn't necessarily mesh, right? Or it takes some time to mesh. So I guess we could play some devil's advocate and say just because the Bengals went out and made those moves doesn't necessarily mean it's going to equate for better play for Joe Mixon, but I am of the belief that it is going to at the end of the day, right? All right, Michael Pittman's gone. Anthony going heavy receiver. Yeah, I mean, I guess full PPR. I got no receivers on my team. I think the only team to start with 3 running backs. So we'll see how this turns out. ETN gone at 3.6. A nice selection there and a good value. ETN, another player who I just think, I mean, all I'm every day on social media, on Instagram, Twitter, whatever it is, we're already seeing so much Travis Etienne hype. And now, at this point in the off season, we're continuing to see the hype, and we're seeing the hype coming out of training camp. I really, truly believe that ETN is just going to continue to move further and further up in ADP the closer we get to, true drafting season, the end of August, moving into September. I won't be surprised if ETN moves up into kind of this Aaron Jones, Saquon Barkley area right before Nick Chubb, James Conner, Kamara, Javonte, all those guys, right? I won't be surprised if he's going at the beginning of the second round, depending on how many teams you're drafting with the mid-second round. I really, truly believe that there's just too much hype surrounding him. And I think it's relatively unfortunate because I liked ETN as an RB3, even an RB2 in some circumstances, and I liked him at his old ADP a lot, right? And now it's not that I dislike him, right? There's still a point where I'm happy to draft him, but we're no longer getting that bargain on ETN, and hey, that always hurts to see, right? All right, third round in the books here. After ETN gone to Rio Goda at 3.6, we got DJ Moore, Kyle Pitts, Cam Akers, Breece Hall, Monty gone, Jacobs and Dobbins, and Mike Williams gone as well. So a large run at running back, but we got Mike Williams, DJ Moore, Pittman, Higgins, Deontay in there, and one tight end, and Kyle Pitts. So you guys do like to draft RB heavy on a regular basis. Andrea and I going with the RB heavy strat tonight. She's got Swift, Jones, and Jacobs. I've got CMC, Kamara, and Javonte. So we'll see how that turns out. The running back position, though, absolutely starting to dry up here as McLaurin and Waddle will take us into the fourth. Excuse me. I mean, you got some decent names still hanging around at RB, but undoubtedly I'm going to have to make some moves outside of the running back position, and we will see what happens. All right, Eli Mitchell gone at 4.3. And into the fourth we are. Stephen Joe in the house. What's up, man? What's up? I like ETN too, but you have to more than likely bank on him breaking a long run or just catching a bunch of screen passes. Not sure how often the Jags are going to be in the red zone this season. That's fair. And, I still think that James Robinson is going to have an impact overall as long as he's healthy. And I do think that he brings kind of that PPR upside, right? I do think that he'll be a pass-catching threat. And, I do think that he's going to have an opportunity to make some big runs throughout the season, which I don't think you're necessarily saying he won't. But I think the point that you're more so making is that he is going to maybe not have all those red zone opportunities. And if James Robinson is healthy, he's probably more of a red zone type back. But I do think that ETN and full PPR leagues can build on that value throughout games in terms of pass catching, even if it's not necessarily near the red zone. But it's a fair point overall. Boston Strangler in the house. What's up? What's up? Why is DJ Moore an earlier / mid-round pick? Numbers haven't supported it. Baker or Darnold a reason? So, DJ Moore had a pretty good season last year at the end of the day, especially earlier in the year. This is when he looked like an absolute fantasy steal. But I don't disagree with the point you're making, right? Still, in the top 20, wide receiver 18. But I've said this ever since the Baker trade, right? Like, it's not a massive jump in quarterback play for DJ Moore. Like, for me, it never really pushed his ADP up. For me personally, right? And let me go and make these two selections very quickly here. I'll go Judy. I guess I don't have two selections. I guess I have one and then the turn. But yeah, I don't disagree with what you're saying. Like, I do like DJ Moore and I like him in full PPR. That's the other thing, right? His ceiling's kind of capped because he's never scored more than 4 touchdowns in a season. I like Baker. Baker's a starter, and but I just don't know how much value Baker really brings to things at the end of the day. Let's go Allen Robinson. Let's go some potential breakout receivers on this team. But yeah, I mean, I liked DJ Moore at the right price, and I don't dislike him now, but I kind of agree with the point you're making. Like, the quarterback play doesn't necessarily support him. I mean, you look at guys like Mike Williams, there's boom or bust on a weekly basis there. Let's just look at a couple guys drafted after DJ Moore, right? But still, Mike Williams, obviously, like the quarterback position, the offense as a whole, very, very set in stone and very, very high powered. I like Williams more than DJ Moore. No pun intended. Scary Terry, at the end of the day, like, say what you want about Carson Wentz. I don't know. I think I'd probably still put Scary Terry right next to DJ Moore at the end of the day. I mean, I think I probably would take Carson Wentz a hair over DJ's situation, but they're pretty close in terms of what I expect out of those offenses. I like Waddle a little bit more. I think he's going to be, a security type blanket for Tua, and he's got that great chemistry already with Tua. Sutton I don't hate. I mean, kind of unproductive last season. I've been in between Sutton and Judy throughout the offseason, but I do think that Sutton probably has more upside than DJ Moore. I like Metcalf more. I mean, I've been very high on Metcalf all offseason long, regardless of who the quarterback is. I think he's going to be peppered with targets. Hollywood is interesting because I do think those first couple weeks of the season without Hopkins, I probably like him more, but he'll probably start to have a cap ceiling once Hopkins is back. So, looking at the guys right before him, I do like Pittman more, and I do like Tiggins more. Tiggins, wow. Shout out to Tiggins. T. Higgins. Jeez. So, I don't know, man. There's plenty of receivers hanging around in that area that the point I'm trying to make, I guess, is I would rather rate... I really can't talk tonight. I would rather wait a round or so and go after a different receiver than draft DJ Moore at his current ADP. And I've kind of said that since the trade. And for me, he just kind of becomes an undraftable player because his ADP is shot up too high. But full PPR, I do think that he brings good value to the table. But, there are just other receivers who I think are going to have similar seasons to him that are going to be around, in the next two rounds after that or so. All right, Andrew says, I think in a 14 team, you need running backs first. That's completely fair. I will say, especially with the way that you guys draft, running backs are going to dry up very, very quickly in a 14-team draft. And in general, I mean, I've played in 14-team leagues several times, and running back does get ate up pretty quickly, but it doesn't mean that receiver does not get ate up pretty quickly. It does not mean that quarterback and tight end don't hold value. But there's going to be a point where you're going to have to be going after some committees, some handcuffs, or just some later round flyer running backs if you don't go after them early. But, I mean, I know I went running back heavy to start this draft. That's more of just to play around with the strategy. It doesn't mean that it's necessarily what I prefer in a 14-team league, but it is a fair point at the end of the day, Andrew. How do you feel about Metcalf this year? Asked Rio. I mean, I've loved Metcalf all off season long. I've always been a Metcalf fan. Wide receiver 14 in PPR scoring formats last season, 11 in standard, 12 touchdowns, 967 receiving yards, 129 targets for 75 receptions. I think that at the end of the day, for me with Metcalf, like regardless of if Drew Lock or Geno Smith, who he actually played pretty well with last season, Jimmy Garoppolo, who else is out there at the quarterback position? Sam Darnold, I don't know. He's still a Panther, right? I don't know who else is on that roster. Whoever it is, I think is going to pepper Metcalf with targets because you just don't have an option. Like, don't get me wrong, I like Metcalf more in full PPR just because I think the target share will be there. I like him more than Lockett because Lockett's really relying on the deep ball from Russell Wilson, right? And obviously Wilson is gone. I still don't, at Lockett's current ADP, I don't really mind drafting him. But I like Metcalf at the end of the day. I think naturally you're going to see some touchdown regression. Don't get me wrong. 12 touchdowns last season. I think that'll probably be closer to 8 this season. But full PPR, I think the targets will be there, and I think he'll make the most out of them, no doubt. So, yeah, I'm a Metcalf guy. All right, let's see here. Scepterfist took too long, auto-picked, RIP. At least I got the stack. Yeah, you got my homies and Kelsey. I saw that was an auto-pick, but then I was like, maybe it was an intentional auto-pick. Like, maybe got it last second. All right, so in the 5th, we got 2 tight ends, 1 quarterback. Outside of that, just running backs and receivers. Into the 6th round, Brady, Hunt, Hawkinson, St. Brown, Davis, Moore, Hopkins, Murray, Goddard, London, Renfro, and Burks. Man, things are getting dicey out here. I mean, you guys know I got to go with my boy Devonta Smith. You know there's no way I'm passing him up here. Amber Williams stopping by to drop a like. Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Very, very kind of you. Appreciate you stopping by. All right, I got to think about what I want to do here as Charlie goes with Garrett Wilson. Ooh, things are getting slim pickings out here. There's no denying it. I think I might just go ahead and go QB here. Do I want Burrow or Hurts? Love both of them. I got Smith. I mean, we're not playing underdog, but a little bit of a stack there. Let's go Burrow for the sake of things. Sake of this mock draft. I've been really heavy into drafting Hurts lately. But I love both those guys. I mean, I got Burrow and Hurts right outside my top 5. And easily both those guys could crack the top 5. Undoubtedly, right? All right. Boston, what is the drop in value for ETN between any PPR format versus standard? I don't see Jags offense being any good, and his value may be in PPR standard bench. Yeah, he's going to have higher value in PPR because he is a receiving back at the end of the day. So, at the end of the day, though, he is kind of a running back that many fantasy managers want to target right now. So I wouldn't say there's too much of a drop in standard scoring formats, but there definitely is probably going to be a slight drop just because he is that PPR style type guy. Anthony, there's no denying DJ Moore's talent or elite usage for the Panthers. Mayfield has shown the ability to support multiple fantasy weapons not named Odell Beckham when healthy, so Moore should be firmly at the top of the fantasy wide receiver 2 conversation. Yeah, in terms of a wide receiver 2 for your roster, I don't mind that, especially in full PPR, but I think the biggest thing for me is like there's just plenty of receivers in that tier who I think are going to have similar seasons who are going to be available a round or so later. So, and really, I mean, outside of Landry, who's been relevant for Baker in the bunch? Unless I'm really missing someone. I remember more of that season being the run game with Chubb. Where is Baker? Where you at? Hey, Bake. He did not impress Thursday. Okay. Yeah, I remember this season. You know, this was the year 2020 was when they went to the playoffs. I mean, did they go to the playoffs both years? But this was the year where they actually were a contender across the league. 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 3,500 passing yards. That's what we hope we can get out of him. But I can't think of... I mean, actually, Odell had, when he was healthy, played okay that season. But, okay, I'm going to look it up here on the second screen. Second device. 2020 Browns roster. Let's take a look. I mean, that offensive line was just filthy that year. Yeah, Odell... Jarvis. So Odell played 7 games, 23 catches for 319 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns, had a rushing touchdown. Jarvis, 72 catches for 840 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown. Austin Hooper had 435 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns at the tight end position. Nick Chubb had over 1,000 rushing yards, 12 rushing touchdowns. Their offensive line was filthy. Outside of that, I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm going to call that. I mean, Rashad Higgins. Probably Higgins, right? It doesn't give me the stats. Higgins probably had a pretty decent year that year. But I don't know how much faith that puts in me in terms of Baker and DJ Moore. So unless it was a different year you're looking at, I'm still not quite there personally. All right, let's see here. Who do you think Judy is better than St. Brown or MT? Both will be wide receiver ones. Or why do you think Judy? So, yeah, really just... and I would pump the brakes on my boy Michael Thomas. He still concerns me pretty highly at the end of the day. St. Brown, I would also... I don't know if I'm going to call St. Brown a wide receiver one. All right, let me make these... let me make some picks here. Wow, you guys decimated the board. Holy cow. All right, I'm going to go Tyler Boyd. Listen, St. Brown, at the end of the day, I love St. Brown. I like him a lot more as a flex. And I don't know if I call him a wide receiver one. I mean, 119 targets is good. 90 receptions, 912 receiving yards, 5 touchdowns, a great rookie season. But let's look at that receiving room. Khalif Raymond, DJ Chark, Quentin Cephas, Jameson Williams when he's healthy, Josh Reynolds, TJ Hawkinson, and you got Swift out of the backfield. There's a lot of competition for targets. All right, give me Gesicki here. I got to get tight end. And then with MT, yeah, I like Olave at his value a lot more. That's the other thing, right? There's certain receivers, like if I can draft Olave in the 7th, then I don't know if I want to target Michael Thomas 2 rounds earlier. You know, if I can draft Devonta Smith in the 6th round, you know, I mean, I get that A.J. Brown has a much higher ceiling, but I don't know if I want to draft him at the end of the 2nd round. If I can draft Mike Williams at the end of the 3rd, I don't know if I want to draft Keenan Allen in the 2nd. I mean, I do love Keenan Allen. Out of all those scenarios, I'd probably go with Keenan Allen at the end of the day, right? So that's another thing when it comes to drafting that I take a look at, right? And listen, like I said, and I play around. I mean, we do so many drafts at the channel that I play around with so many different strats, right? Tonight, just why not draft 2 breakout potential receivers? Judy at 4.13, Robinson at 5.2, because at the end of the day, you know, this team going heavy running back, I'm going to need some potential breakout on this squad. So, you know, there's a couple things going on there, but I think that Judy and Robinson probably have more potential of breakout seasons. I do like St. Brown, but he's got a lot of competition for targets at the end of the day. And MT, I mean, I don't know if I'm going to say MT will be a wide receiver one. If he's fully healthy, I mean, maybe. But that's another, I mean, we just looked at the Lions roster, right? At the end of the day, man, Marquez Callaway, a very talented receiver. 698 receiving yards, 6 scores last season. Traquan Smith, when healthy, I mean, 13 games, 377 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns. Like, those aren't nearly as good as Callaway, but still semi-productive. Then you add Olave, right? Then you add Jarvis Landry. I don't know. Taysom Hill's floating around. If you know, Kamara is back from suspension, he's going to take receptions out of the backfield. So don't get me wrong. I mean, can't guard Mike. I get it. But the last 2 seasons, I mean, we're still doing this with Michael Thomas. I'd rather wait until we see it on the field. Like, there's a point in the offseason where I started to warm up to Michael Thomas, and then now I'm kind of like, well, if Olave's sitting there the next 2 rounds, I'll probably just take a chance on Olave. If I really want a piece of that offense and I miss Olave, well, then I'll just wait another 2 rounds and go with Landry, right? All right, Chase, bro, I wanted Burrow for that Higgins-Burrow stack. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry, bro. I didn't mean to do that to you. All right, let's see here. Amon is a mega sleeper PPR. Yeah, I mean, I do like Amon-Ra St. Brown, but once they added Jameson Williams, I just felt like the receiver room got too overly crowded. But, you know, I don't dislike St. Brown whatsoever. I love him as a wide receiver 3. I think he's the perfect flex type player. Look at Inceptivus' team, right? Went for upside at tight end. Let's just say you did not auto draft Patty Mahomes. Upside at quarterback, 2 running backs, Thielen, and then even in this particular circumstance, I don't mind St. Brown as a wide receiver too. All right, let's see here. Nice. It's that time of the year. What do you think of Aaron Hernandez? He's my league winner at the 5-6 turn. Hey, it's the time of the year for comedians. We've been quiet for some time, so let's go. All right, Spence in the house. What's up, baby? What up, what up? Alave for the win, suspense. Do you think steady beats upside when it's draft time? How do you draft? I draft for consistency, man, at the end of the day. So, this roster, not the best particular example, but yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, I just want consistency. I mean, and some of you guys really don't like that, right? I go for more of I know what to expect on a weekly basis. I don't always need a crazy high ceiling, but if you're going to guarantee me double-digit fantasy points from each skill position, and then, I mean, maybe I do look for a little bit more upside at quarterback, but in later rounds, right? And probably a tight end too. So I'm going to stack up at running back and receiver earlier on and try and get good, consistent players. Like I said, this roster not the best example. And obviously things might be a little bit skewed in a 14-team league where things a little bit harder to get more consistency. But in terms of 10 and 12-man drafts, I'm really rotating between running back and receiver in some circumstances, starting with the receiver position and then going to running back. But I got to make a draft pick here. Yeah, at the end of the day, I go for a little bit more consistency, which some of you guys hate, some of you guys don't mind. All right, I'll go with... Wow. It's slim pickings out here. I'll go Rondale Moore here. Hopefully he gets that upside in the first 6 games or so. I'm hurting at receiver. Kind of starting to hurt at running back as well. All right. Charlie at 10.14 will take us into the 11th round. Goes with double tight ends. Goes with the former Denver tight end and the current Denver tight end as well. All right, I need a running back of some sort. So I'll go with McKissick. Why not? I don't know how crazy I am about Washington's backfield at this point, but why not? All right, into the 11th we go. I have not thought about who I'm collabing with next, Emil. I have not. I barely had time to think about when I'm going to do my laundry. So things are crazy right now, but I'm loving it. You took CMC first, so you might as well go all out yellow. That's right, man. Yeah, all YOLO picks here. I mean, all I needed was Barkley was long gone. If I could have landed Barkley at the end of the second, and then Akers at 3.2, that's a YOLO start right there. People like DJ Moore because he has one of the top target shares in the league. Only matter of time till he pops off. Dude had like 250 targets last year. Yeah. Listen, guys, I do like DJ Moore, right? And more than that, man, 163 targets. And he was balling at the beginning of the season. Don't get me wrong, guys. And he did have a little bit more of a consistent stretch, weeks 11 through week 16. My biggest point is like the trade for Baker didn't, like, before that trade, right? DJ Moore was essentially going like maybe 10 spots ahead of where he's going now. I liked him more at that potential, right? Maybe 8 to 10 spots, depending on how many teams are in the draft, who you're drafting with, all that stuff, right? But I liked him more at that value, and at this point, I would rather just wait another round or so. And I think that, hey, he could probably come out next season and do what he did last season at the beginning of the year very easily. But I don't know. I don't think I'm ready to pull the trigger in the middle of the 3rd round is all. But I get it. I don't dislike DJ Moore by any means. All right, let's see here. Last report I read is Thomas catching everything, looks healthy. Jameis will sling it. That's upside. Wide receiver position doesn't care about quarterback picks. I mean, I don't think that the last part of that statement is unfair, right? Like, at the end of the day, if you're getting the targets, it doesn't really matter who the quarterback is, right? Like, Darnell Mooney's going to have a good season with Justin Fields at quarterback. Elijah Moore is probably going to have a good season with Zach Wilson at quarterback. Christian Kirk is probably going to have a ton of targets with Trevor Lawrence at quarterback. You know, Jacoby Myers, Kendrick Bourne have Mac Jones at quarterback. Like, all those guys are probably going to be fantasy relevant at the end of the day. So I don't disagree with that sentiment whatsoever. But, I mean, I heard lots of good reports about Michael Thomas the last 2 years. And it's just too risky. It's too risky for me at the end of the day. Jason saying, I don't trust MT this year. Gut. feeling sort of thing. Yeah, that's probably where I'm at too. And hey, I hope that he's a mid-round steal for those of you guys who do draft him. Don't get me wrong. But I'm not willing to make this selection personally. If he falls out to the right spot, then yeah, I'll take him. But at his current ADP, I'm just not quite there. And there was a point in the offseason where I'd warmed back up to him overall, but I'm just not quite there personally. Williams in Arizona will be the man after Connor gets hurt. Hey, Connor will never get hurt. That's my boy. Connor will never get hurt. Don't say that, man. I do like the addition of Williams to that offense. Don't get me wrong. But Connor's still my guy. How much time did Connor miss last season? Like 2 games? Played in 15 games? Yeah. I mean, that's really not too crazy. But he has a history of injuries. But hey, we talked about this on Discord the other day. Literally, like the top 25 backs last season. Oh gosh, I can't remember everything off the top of my head. Like the top 25 backs going into fantasy last season, all of them except for JT. Let's see if I can remember. JT and Eckler and Zeke missed at least 2 games or more. And all of those backs except for, including Eckler and Zeke, at least had injuries or played through injuries. So 2 games doesn't really bother me at this point. The running back position is extremely volatile at the end of the day. So, but yeah, I do think that Williams will have some good games, no doubt. Has OBJ been drafted yet? No, he usually falls out a little bit later. Just a little bit later. I mean, that's really like the last free agent we're really waiting on, right? Is where's OBJ going to go? But it might take some time. All right, I think Jalen Tolbert could make an impact early on the season with Gallup being out for a while. Yeah, I do like Tolbert. I do. And I've heard that he's making some waves. So I like Tolbert. Moore was the 2 until Coleman got hurt. Corey Coleman is the pick for Jets wide receiver based on value pick. Man, Corey Coleman, haven't heard that one in a while. Over under 605 touchdowns for Julio Jones. I'd probably say I don't mind the potential over on the receiving yards. Touchdowns, I'll probably say under. But I think 600 to 800 yards is probably doable for Julio if he's fully healthy. All right, geez Louise. Man, I can't believe Van Jefferson is like hurt. All right, give me Kendrick Bourne. I was loving Van Jefferson as a late round pick. But apparently he's got this knee thing going on that's a mystery, and he's seen like specialty doctors. Which like doesn't really excite me from a fantasy perspective. Man, who's the handcuff to CMC? Donta Foreman? Or Chuba? Which one do you guys, who are we drafting between those two guys? I mean, it's tough to say. They got Chuba ahead of Foreman. I don't know. We'll just go Chuba tonight and note that we could have taken Foreman, but I think my gut is telling me to go Foreman. I mean, he had some big games last year. Oh, maybe not that crazy. Well, yeah, I mean, 14, 15, 19, 7 and 8 in between, and then a 9, another 9er. I mean, nothing crazy, but then you look at what Chuba did, right? 10, 18, 13, 13, 9, 15, 13. Basically the same, right? We'll go with Chuba for the night. We got to give CMC some support there. All right, Andrew says Foreman. J-Dub says Foreman. Emil says Chuba didn't do much last year. Yeah, definitely handed a lot of opportunity. And at times, I mean, that's what I was just thinking when I was debating there. It just didn't feel like he made the most of those opportunities. I mean, it's his rookie season, don't get me wrong. But it did kind of feel that way, right? And Foreman just looked far more explosive when he was playing for the Titans, right? So that's going to be an interesting debacle, because if I do draft CMC, I probably want to draft one of those two guys at the end of the draft. But until the regular season really gets rolling, we probably won't have a good idea of who the true handcuff is. Maybe preseason gives us more insight. I don't know. It's just tough to say, right? Boston, more touchdowns for Patriots running backs, Harris or Ramondre. I would say touchdowns purely, probably Harris. What do you have, 15 touchdowns the last season? I mean, I think that's your goal line guy. And, like, for me, if I have to draft one of them, it's still Damian Harris because I do think he'll get that goal line work, right? I mean, yeah, 15 rushing touchdowns. I do like Ramondre. I was a huge fan of Ramondre going into last season. And, had some very good games. 606 rushing yards, 5 touchdowns. And I still like Ramondre. But I think Harris is going to see a lot of regression. Don't get me wrong. That's natural, looking at what he did last season. But at the end of the day, I think I'd still go Harris. All right. Wrapping up the 13th round and going into the 14th. I feel like tonight's stream is flying by. We've had some good conversation tonight. Will Davis Mills finish 2022 as the best QB from the 2021 draft class? Hey, I think it's definitely possible. I think it's possible, but at the end of the day, like, I do think he could be the best quarterback, right? But at the end of the day, Zach Wilson has more weapons around him. I think that defense is going to be improved as well. I think that they've done a lot of good things defensively. And let's face it, while Trevor Lawrence didn't get, like, the flashiest weapon necessarily, they still have given him plenty of help, right? So I think those guys are in better situations. I do like Justin Fields, but that offensive line is bad. I don't know if I really feel like that coaching staff is going to necessarily mesh. Don't get me wrong. You got Mooney, you got Komet, you got Monty, but I worry about that young group right there. I think they have a ton of potential. I love all those guys as players, but I just worry about the coaching staff and the offensive line. So, am I missing? Who am I missing from that class? Nobody, right? Listen, even with thinking about it, I still feel like the Bears have given Justin Fields more to work with than Davis Mills has. You know, I just worry about the Texans. I like Pierce as a young running back. I think Cooks is a great piece as well in terms of a veteran receiver. It's very unfortunate John Mechie is going to miss the year. I think Mechie would have been a great, impactful player. But I don't know, man. I worry about the Texans. He looked okay last season at points. And I do like Davis Mills, bro. I like Davis Mills. I think he definitely has potential over time to be the best QB out of those guys. But I do worry about where he's at currently. So, we'll see. Did I miss? There's no other QBs from that draft, right? No. All right, I need a sip of water. All right, into the 15th round we go. Daniel, Devonta Smith or Adam Thielen over Devonta Smith, I think is what you're asking here. So, hey, man, there's a lot of fantasy managers who have a lot of faith in Adam Thielen, right? Coming off of, injury concerns, really the last 3 seasons or so at the end of the day. I think that's where, some fantasy managers aren't a fan of him. But that chemistry with Kirk Cousins is undeniable. They're going to throw the football more this year. New offensive coordinator coming over from the Rams. I mean, listen, if he's healthy, he's going to be perfectly fine in fantasy football. At the end of the day, still a top 30 wide receiver. He played in 13 games, but really you could chalk this down to about 11 games, including injuries. And that pace he was on last season, right? He only have 3 games where he did not have double-digit fantasy points. 30, 14, 17, 29, 19, 11, 22, 23. So really was on a great pace. And in the red zone, 10 touchdowns through 13 games is not something to overlook. So I get why people like Adam Thielen. I like him more as a wide receiver 3, wide receiver 2 if you have to. So I don't have anything bad necessarily to say about Adam Thielen. I did miss Trey Lance. Thank you, Albert. But I do love Devonta Smith. I think he's going to have a great season. I think he had a great rookie season. I think that he's going to take a step forward within that offense and continue to build that chemistry with Jalen Hurts. So, I see both sides of the argument. I did miss Trey Lance. I knew there was somebody I was missing. Yeah, I would say Trey Lance is in a better situation overall than Davis Mills as well. All right. Sony Michel or Mostert as a backup with higher upside. Probably Michel because he played well last season. And Mostert, I love Mostert as a player, but he's just, I don't know, man. I've been a huge supporter of Mostert like my whole life, and all he's done is disappointed me. Like this, I had him on my team in 2019. I was a big supporter of him going into 2020 as a late round pick, and I've got nothing but disappointment from Mostert. So I'm gonna take some personal bias there and say Sony Michel. Let's see. Okay, let me know if you guys want me to take a look at your team. We'll kick things off with Kenobi here. Kenobi. Brady at quarterback, Freiermuth at tight end. You got Fields and Wilson. 3 QBs, 2 young guns behind the GOAT, right? And you said he had a bad mock. I don't know, man. I mean, Adams, McLaurin, Lockett, you're very thin at receiver. Like at that point, you probably have to take a flyer. I mean, even if you went Sammy Watkins, Collins, Shark, Crowder, Beckham, Van Jefferson, Pierce, any of those guys over Justin Fields and then went with Zach Wilson as your final selection, I mean, that's still the better move for your roster. I mean, looking at your running backs, I mean, you're RB heavy here. Fournette, Dobbins, Damian Harris, Gordon, J-Rob, and Gus the Bus. You could probably eliminate one of those backs. Probably either Gus or Robinson. I probably like Robinson more. And then once again, take another receiver. I mean, even if it's a shot in the dark, KJ Osborne, Hardman, Palmer, Bourne, Watkins. If you replace that Gus Edwards pick and that Fields pick with 2 receivers, I think I like this team a lot more. And then you still have 2 quarterbacks, you still have a tight end, and you still have a pretty solid running back room, right? Fournette, Dobbins, Harris, Gordon, Robinson in a 14-team league is not a bad running back room. And don't get me wrong, like you got Adams as your wide receiver 1, then you got McLaurin to back him up. You're in a pretty good spot there, but just to give you more depth, and even Lockett was not a bad pick in the 8th round, right? So I don't think you had that bad of a draft, but I mean, I do see why you're saying you had a bad draft. And I think if you just went with a dart throw, a wide receiver 3 who has the potential to play as a wide receiver 2 if someone gets hurt, over Gus or over Justin Fields or both, I think that you would probably like this team a lot more, and I would like it more as well. I mean, Tyler Bass, a kicker, and the Niners defense aren't bad selections either. So I don't hate this team, but there are definitely 1 or 2 things I would have done a little bit differently at the end of the day. All right, let's see here. Let's see. J-Dub says, this was fun. I definitely went on the risky side, but I like it. Rio, what we got here? Allen and Prescott, a little heavy at QB. Goddard and Irv, my boy Irv. Mixon, ETN, ooh. Yeah, we're too thin at running back is the first issue. I don't mind having 2 quarterbacks, but that's the other thing, right? If you're thin at one position and you've got a guy like Josh Allen, I mean, if you draft Josh Allen, you don't need to draft another quarterback in a redraft format, hands down. So at 8.9, like if you could have landed Tyler Algier, I mean, even Ronald Jones, Rachaad White, Henderson, Madison, any of those guys, that's going to bring even more value to this roster right away. I love Dallas Goedert as a tight end. I personally think you also could have skipped out on Irv Smith, but I don't mind that as much as the double quarterback, especially a quarterback behind Josh Allen, right? And I do know that you typically don't play in 12 or 14 team formats, so it's a very different feel in terms of drafting. I think receivers are fine. I mean, Metcalf, Thomas, Olave, you kind of got a handcuff to Thomas, which I kind of like. Tony and Galladay, like, I mean, you kind of got a handcuff situation almost going there too. Beckham and DPJ, like, I don't mind this receiving room. It's not my favorite, but I don't mind it at the end of the day, right? But the issue here is you don't need a second quarterback, and you're too thin at running back. Bills' defense is fine. Harrison Butker's fine. So I give this a solid. I'll give it another solid 6.5 to 7. But at the end of the day, like, how you would probably start this season is you really be relying on Mixon and ETN to not get injured. You'd be looking heavily into the waivers at running back. Then you'd be looking to trade Dak Prescott and probably have to throw one of those receivers onto that trade, probably for a running back. And then outside of that, I mean, you'd probably be starting Metcalf and Olave and or Thomas, right? Then trying to figure out who's going to give you the most value out of the Giants receivers. So this team could get through. Don't get me wrong. You got a solid defense and a solid kicker, solid QB1. I think Mixon and ETN would be fine as long as they're healthy, obviously. Goddard's fine as a tight end 1. Metcalf is really who you're relying on at receiver in terms of consistency. So you'd have some things to work with, but it could lead to a challenging, at least start of the season. But hey, you've got some core pieces here. Don't get me wrong. All right, Mr. Sarcastic, what we got, bro? Where are you? There you are, Shrek. All right, Trey Lance and Matt Ryan at quarterback. I'm fine with that. You know, obviously added some value at other positions going Lance late. At least get a veteran behind him. Kyle Pitts at tight end 1, I'm fine with. Cook, Chubb, Dillon could get you through. May have some injuries here and there. You got Foreman as a late round handcuff. I'm fine with this running back room. You got at least 3 guys. Can always play the waiver for a 4th. Juju, Hopkins, Lazard, Gage, Dotson, Jones. I'm fine with this receiving room. Chargers defense and McManus. Yeah, I mean, you go late round quarterback. You load up at running backs early. You get a tight end early. It's going to hurt you at receiver, but you still made out with, 6 receivers who could bring immediate value. So I'm good with this team. Yeah, I like this team. Chase, where you at? Hurts at QB. I got nothing else to say. Schultz at tight end. Good QB1, good tight end 1. I'm good there. Henry, Connor, Algier, Hines, and Haskins. I'm good with this running back room. I mean, I'm not like crazy on Hines, but he adds value to this team. Haskins, I think, is a fine pick in the 14th round. Henry and Connor, I don't worry about those 2 guys. I know some people do, but I don't. Then I think Algier is a great pick in the 8th round. Higgins, Cooks, Renfro, Patrick, Pickens, Palmer. Good value at receiver throughout this draft. Yeah, I like this team. Justin Tucker and the Cowboys defense. Yeah, this is a good, consistent team. I mean, you could argue you're probably maybe at running back you might have some volatility, but I mean, I would be fine going into the season with Henry and Connor, then Algier. It's kind of a bench guy. Let him bloom a little bit. I think he's going to have a good rookie season. Higgins, Cooks, Renfro, Patrick. I mean, he got good value at receiver throughout this whole draft. And this is a good team. I like this team. Andrea has to go. Good night. Have a great night. Thank you, Andrea. Inceptivus. Let's see what we got. Kelsey in the 1st. Mahomes in the 4th. You got Winston and Higbee. Barkley, Monty, Cook, Hendo. I mean, I like this running back room a lot. Yeah. I mean, you got a high ceiling in Barkley. You have some volatility between Barkley and Montgomery in terms of injury history, and even Hendo. Cook brings some nice youth to this team, right? I like this running back room. You may have to... you may have some frustrations throughout the season. But I do like this running back room. Obviously, upside of QB and tight end. Thielen, St. Brown, Woods, Watson, Tolbert. So I think my only note here is if you draft Kelsey and or Mahomes, you probably don't need to get Winston and Higbee, right? Winston or Higbee is probably fine, but I would have drafted at least one more receiver. I mean, you can see who was available after you drafted Winston, after you drafted Higbee, right? I would have added one more receiver to this team, or even... I mean, he's still got 5 receivers, right? Maybe one more running back just because you do have some of that volatility. But your upside's coming at quarterback and tight end. And then, I mean, I think you could have some really good weeks with this team. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Cook. I mean, he could be a potential flex player for you. Then Thielen and St. Brown in there. I mean, even Woods could bring some consistency, or Watson or Tolbert. I mean, I do like this team. But I think my only note would be If you get Kelsey and you get Mahomes, I mean, I get why going after Winston in the 12th, like, could be a good late round steal. But even if Winston is playing well and looks good in that offense, outside of playing like a team like the Falcons or whoever's going to be, the worst secondary in the league this year, are you really going to start Winston over Mahomes if he's healthy? And are you really going to start Kelsey? Well, yeah, you are. You are going to start Kelsey. Are you really going to start Higbee over Kelsey? Probably not. But I get it. Like some people do want to go out in case of injury and not wanting to have to panic on the waiver wire. They want a quarterback 2 or a tight end 2 behind those top tier guys. So I get that side of things. But you can usually take care of that issue if it does come up on the waiver wire at the end of the day. But I devil's advocate, I can get both sides. But personally, in a redraft format league, I probably would have just gone with another receiver and running back in the 12th and the 13th. There would be my only note. It's still a good team overall, though. All right, I'm an Eagles fan. With the addition of Brown, I'm hoping Devonta Smith goes off this year. Glad to see Rager fighting to stay on the roster. Yeah, hey, I like that Eagles offense a lot, man. We got plenty of Eagles fans in the Catch fam. All right, J-Dubs. Trades are always in play, too. That's true. That's true. All right. We got Kyler at quarterback. Andrews at tight end. I like that. Going receiver heavy tonight. Cup, Moore, Brown, Mooney. Gallup and Nico. I like the receiving room. Love the tight end room. Love the quarterback room. Penny, Pierce, Madison, Ingram, Robinson. So, I don't mind Penny and Pierce. I don't even mind Madison. To some degree, I don't mind Ingram or Robinson either. But I get what you're saying now. You're obviously more than likely going to have to trade for a running back on this team, if not 2 running backs. And probably see some of that receiver value, leave, right? So, I mean, having Cup, Moore, Brown, and Mooney, you probably could have gone with a running back in the 10th and in the 13th, right? Especially if you're going to end up going for trade value, right? I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe you'd want those other 2 receivers in case you have to trade away Moore, Brown, or Mooney. I would assume you're probably not trading Cup. But, hey, at the end of the day, if you were willing to wait this thing out and everyone stayed healthy, I mean, you got Cup at wide receiver 1, then Moore, Brown, Mooney at wide receiver 2 and a flex. Andrews and Murray starting. Penny's healthy. I think he's the guy. Pierce starts to bloom. I think he's the guy. This team could work out within itself, and you may not need to trade anyone. Then, God forbid, something happens to Dalvin Cook. You got Madison there. I mean, you got Ingram for a couple games if Kamara does serve a suspension. And Robinson's another guy who might bloom into a starter. So, maybe you don't need to do any trades. I do think it's a good team, but we both know where the issue is looking at this roster head to toe. Rio says I have too many receivers. Yeah, you did go a little receiver heavy at the end of the draft. Daniel also excited to play against Wentz twice this year. Oh, yeah. Could be a good time. Little revenge. Good learning experience. Always is. Josh Allen equals higher mid quarterback and mid RB all-in-one. If Allen is there in the 3rd round, gotta grab. Yeah, I don't think he will be. I think especially as we get closer to the season. And, mock drafts versus real drafts. I mean, as long as you're drafting with competitive fantasy managers and actual users, I think you can get a really good idea. But at the end of the day, when it comes time to draft, people are going to go after Josh Allen. I would say just slightly earlier than you're going to see him in mock drafts, especially like in your home leagues, in your family leagues, whatever it may be. Like, Josh Allen's going to go early. Like, Mahomes went early as anything last season. I mean, he went at the end of the 2nd, sometimes mid-2nd, right? Allen's probably not going to be available in the 3rd. But I do agree, if he's there, I don't go quarterback early, but it's going to be really hard. There's a certain price for Allen and Herbert for me. If they're available, I don't know if I can pass on them. Those are probably the only 2 guys. Then there's a point later in the draft with Burrow or Hurts where I'm like, I'm just going to grab him right now while I can, Spencer, at my old smoke spot in my hometown brings back memories. Let's go. First zero running back build. Hey, I mean, if you were intentionally going zero RB in a 14-team league, this is not a bad setup. Rio, thanks for the rating. Anytime, man. That's what we're here for. Thought process was picking up a backup tight end QB for bye weeks. But I gave a point I could do that through the waiver wire. Yeah, and that's fair too, right? I really only focused on injuries when looking at your team, but bye weeks are another part of it. And I don't think it's a bad team. I do think you end up getting pretty good receiver value. Like, there's not a crazy amount of upside. You got Woods and Thielen with some injury concerns. St. Brown, a heavy receiver room. Watson and Tolbert were great values. I don't dislike this team, but yeah, that was my only slight note. And I get that some people want the bye week security, injury security, whatever it may be. Jeffrey Mason in the house. Hello, hello. I'm playing in a PPR keeper league. I'm going into my draft next year with Andrews in the 4th and Swift in the 3rd. My question is, if I'm in the 10th or lower spot and Kelsey is there, could I take it? Even at the turn or near that, is it worth it to have 2 tight ends like that and just use the flex? Yes and no. I would say probably just keep Andrews. Like, listen, you could get Kelsey there and play Kelsey or Andrews in the flex and one at tight end 1. Don't get me wrong. But I would say it's probably more valuable just to go after a receiver or running back at that point. Probably running back. So you're going to have no 4th round pick, no 3rd round pick. You're going to have a 1st and 2nd. What I would do, personally, since you already have Swift, is I would probably go receiver. You could do it either way. Receiver, running back in the 1st, and receiver, running back in the 2nd. I would try to come out at least with one top-tier receiver that you're confident in, and then a running back to play behind Swift. I mean, I love Swift. Don't get me wrong. I do think he's a good keeper, but he does have some injury concerns at the end of the day. So I would go probably for a top-tier running back in the 1st, and then go after a receiver that you're confident in the 2nd, and then take advantage of the fact that you got Andrews as a keeper in the 4th. You know, he's going to have a great year. I do like Kelsey slightly more, but but Andrews going to have a great season. I mean, he's probably going to be he's a solidified top 5 tight end, you know, even if he sees regression off of what he did last season. But I mean, if you end up with Kelsey and Andrews, am I going to say you have a bad team? No. Like, you can start those 2 guys as long as your league allows you to flex a tight end, which it sounds like it does. Like, that's going to be just as scary as if you have, let's say, I don't know, you draft Mixon in the 1st, or Kelsey in the 1st, you get Jones in the 2nd, you got Swift and Andrews. That's probably just as scary as if you got Jones, Swift, Andrews, and Stephon Diggs, right? You know? So, it's an interesting conundrum you got there, my man. J-Dub's definitely not the most consistent, but having the flexibility to trade one of those wide receivers is nice. Most of these guys have late buys, so I can always trade if needed and give Gallup plenty of time to come off of the IR if he's not ready. Yeah, I don't dislike this team. Like I said, you could have a circumstance here where those running backs end up being, you know, just fine for you. And you got all the upside of receiver, tight end, quarterback. So I don't hate that team. Kenobi says, I take best available, and if that's Kelsey, you can always trade a tight end. That's a perfectly fine way of putting it as well. Kelsey's the best player on the board. Go ahead and get Kelsey. I'm fine with that too. And, you know, if you are... So, question is, if I'm in the 10th or lower spot, I would say if you're in the 10th or higher spot, maybe go for Kelsey then. In the lower spot at this point in the offseason, we're just not seeing Kelsey go there. There's probably going to be better available players at running back and receiver. And I do think in the long run, I would take advantage of having Andrews in the 4th. But like I said, if you come out of your draft and you got Kelsey and Andrews, like, that's still pretty damn scary to go up against on a weekly basis. Week 1, Swifter Jones. Jeffrey's saying, sorry, lower as in worse. I mean 10 to 12. Okay, I got you. Yeah, then at that point, you probably will have a good shot to get Kelsey. What's your gut telling you, man? Where are you leaning overall? Because at the end of the day, that's what I always encourage, right? is trust your gut, right? I mean, we're here to have that conversation, to bounce those ideas off of the community and to get my personal take as well. But I will always tell you guys, I said it all last year, I'll say it all this year, trust your gut, go with your own convictions, because it's fantasy football at the end of the day. You know, your guess is as good as mine. Week 1, Swifter Jones. I got a free DraftKings ticket building those squads under 50K. It's a difference of getting Saints defense with Jones or Bengals with Swift. Thoughts? I would go Saints defense with Aaron Jones. Yep. I will go Saints defense with Aaron Jones. Who did the Saints play week 1? I need a Saints player. Real goated, drafted 2 of them. Yeah, they play Atlanta. I'd probably go with the Saints. Who do the Bengals play? Pitt. That's not too bad. I would still go with the Saints defense, though. Yeah, I'll go Saints defense and Jones. Yep. All right. I got you, Jeffrey. Does Green Bay have a fantasy starter on the team? As Spence says, Jones and Dillon and Lazard. Yeah. And if Tanyan's healthy, probably Tanyan as well. And Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, Jones and Dillon are interchangeable. Like, they're both going to hold fantasy value all season long, regardless of each other's health. Jones maybe slightly more upside, but I love me some A.J. Dillon. And Spencer says a sprinkle of Christian Watson. True that, man. True that. If it's at the turn, that means even in a bye week, I have no weak links in my roster. I guarantee one will go off in PPR in a given week. I'm agreed with targeting ideally a running back in the first, but at the turn, I'd have to add Kelsey. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. You go RB in the first round, pair someone with Swift, right? And then if Kelsey's still sitting there at the turn, which depending on how many teams you're drafting with, he may or may not be, right? Yeah, but if Kelsey's there at the turn, there's a pretty good argument, regardless of your circumstance, that you should just draft Kelsey, right? I mean, you could have Andrews and Pitts as your 2 keepers, and if Kelsey's still there, there's a pretty damn good argument to just take Kelsey anyway. So, yeah, I don't disagree with what you're saying. Tanyan is banged up. Yeah, like I said, if he's healthy, he's probably a player to take a look at as a starter. And the Dubes, J-Dubs and Spence bringing up the Dubes. I think Dubes could be a really good stake. A really good steal. Yeah, hey, I'm going to end up drafting the Dubes. That's my guy. I don't know why it's so funny. I think Dubes could be a real good stake. That's good stuff. Okay. Why isn't Dallas D, who finished first last year, going 4-6, even though they play Washington, the Giants, Philly, a combined 6 times? Hey, Boston, I like this point right here. I think naturally they will have regression from what they did last season, but it's a very fair point overall. I mean, you do have a tough start here. That could be part of it. You got Tampa Bay and Cincy. Like, I'm not going to have a lot of faith starting Dallas in those 2 games, right? But then you get Giants, Washington, the Rams. I don't like that matchup. Then you get Philly, Detroit, who I do think will be improved. You get Chicago. I mean, overall, right, like, I'm probably not starting them week 1 or 2. And I'm probably not starting them week 5, but I'd probably start them in all those other games. Then they get a bye week. Then they get Green Bay, maybe, maybe not. Minnesota, maybe, maybe not. The Giants, Indy, Houston, Jacksonville, Philly, Tennessee, Washington. I mean, it's still a pretty damn good schedule overall for a defense. But, yeah, they're going to regress from what we saw last season. But I think you're making a fair point. They really... Nobody's talking about them from a defensive perspective. And it is interesting. They do play the NFC least quite a bit, right? All right. I really don't like Lazard. I feel like he's not ready to be a number 1 receiver, says Inceptivus. Dallas' strength of defense isn't bad after the first 2 games. Spence and J-Dub say, get rid of defense in fantasy. Then what would Steven make videos on, man? We need defense and kickers in fantasy for our boy Steven, right? So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we've gone on quite a bit here tonight. So appreciate you guys hanging out. Appreciate everyone who drafted tonight. Kenobi, Andrea, our boy Sleeper. I don't know who Sleeper is. So if you're in the chat, let me know. But thank you for drafting with us. Inceptivus, Albert, Julian, Mr. Sarcastic, J-Dubs, Real Goated, Anthony, Chase, Robert, a new face in here. I don't know. Robert missed the draft, unfortunately, but thank you for joining regardless. And Charlie, thank you guys for drafting tonight. Let's see here. I appreciate that, Boston. Appreciate all you guys, everyone who was in the chat, everyone who stopped by. You guys know who you were. I appreciate all the new subscribers. We gained a couple of subscribers during the stream. Thank you guys so much. Very, very kind of you to join the Catch fam. Looking forward to having you guys in our future streams. Puppy 3 does drop tomorrow. Let's go, J-Dubs. Hopefully it doesn't fill up by Friday night when we run our Underdog stream. We should probably be able to get in at least 1 or 2 on Friday nights. I'm looking forward to that as well. Friday night, I'm actually off Saturday this week, so Friday night should be a little late night stream action. So hopefully we can just hang out and draft some puppy teams for sure. So y'all know what to do, man. Hit that like button on the way out. Hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Instagram. Check out all the links down below. Make sure to join our Discord, most importantly, to get our mock draft invites as well as updates on when we are conducting our mock drafts. Okay. That'll do it for the night. J-Dub says he'll be out of town until Wednesday. No worries, man. Have a good trip, whatever you may be doing. And, yeah, that'll do it, guys. So, great draft tonight. Great stream. Appreciate everyone who hung out. Appreciate everyone who drafted. Hit me up on Discord, Twitter, Instagram if you guys need anything in the meantime. And we got a 12-team auction draft as requested by Senior Cinnabon going live tomorrow night. So, make sure you guys hop in tomorrow night. And until then, I'll talk to everyone tomorrow night. Love you guys. Love the community. Love the Catch fam. Everyone have a great start to the week. And I will talk to you guys tomorrow. With that, I got nothing else to say. But thank you guys so much for watching and or listening. And remember, you guys saw it here on the Catch. And peace.